Welcome to Best Life 30, your 30-day journey to creating the best life possible for yourself. You can watch just this video, or if you want to sign up for the whole series for free and get the bonus companion worksheets that go along with this video, check out the link in the description below. All right, so today is bonus day number 3, and we're going to learn how to optimize our diet.
As I said, 70% of the time, people live in stress, and living in stress is living in survival. Now, all organisms in nature can tolerate short-term stress. You know, a deer gets chased by a pack of coyotes. When it outruns the coyotes, it goes back to grazing and the event is over. And the definition of stress is when your brain and body are knocked out of balance, out of homeostasis. The stress response is what the body innately does to return itself back to order. So you're driving down the road, someone cuts you off, you jam on the brakes, you give them the finger, and then you settle back down and the event is over and boom, now everything's back to normal. But what if it's not a predator that's waiting for you outside the cave, but what if it's your coworker sitting right next to you, and all day long you're turning on those chemicals because they're pushing all your emotional buttons. When you turn on the stress response and you can't turn it off, now you're headed for disease, because no organism in nature can live in emergency mode for that extended period of time. It's a scientific fact that the hormones of stress downregulate genes and create disease, long-term effects. Human beings, because of the size of the neocortex, we can turn on the stress response just by thought alone. We can think about our problems and turn on those chemicals. That means then our thoughts could make us sick. So if it's possible that our thoughts could make us sick, is it possible then our thoughts could make us well? And the answer is absolutely yes. So then, what are the emotions that are connected to survival? Let's name them. Anger, aggression, hostility, hatred, competition, fear, anxiety, worry, pain, suffering, guilt, shame, unworthiness, envy, jealousy. Those are all created by the hormones of stress. And psychology calls them normal human states of consciousness. I call those altered states of consciousness. So then we tend to remember those traumatic events more because in survival, you better be ready if it happens again. And when the survival gene is switched on, you could have 10 really great things that happen to you in your day. And you just have one bad thing that happens and you cannot take your attention off that unhappy thing because the survival gene is switched on.
It's really interesting. How does epigenetics come into play in all this? Like, what's actually happening? You've talked pretty profoundly about proteins and like really at a deep level how we're signaling to our genetics to create these kinds of changes. What does that actually look like? Well,
Epigenetics, epi means above the gene. And many years ago, after the DNA helix was discovered by Watson and Crick, they said the blueprints of life, all diseases are created from genes. It turns out less than 5%, more like 1% of people on the planet are born with a genetic condition like type 1 diabetes or Tay-Sachs disease or sickle cell anemia. The other 95 to 99% are created by lifestyle and by choices. You can take two identical twins, exact same genome. One dies at 51, the other one dies at 85. Same gene, different environment. So all of a sudden they said, we lied. That was wrong. It's not genes that create disease. It's the environment that signals the gene that creates disease. Well, okay. But that's not the whole truth too, because you could have two people working side by side in the same factory. One gets cancer after being exposed to a carcinogenic for 25 years. Both working for 25 years, the other one has no cancer at all. So there must be some internal order that would cause one person to not get it while another one does. So is it possible then, if the environment signals the gene, and it does, and the end product of an experience in the environment is called an emotion, can you signal the gene ahead of the environment by embracing an elevated emotion? We've done the research on this. We've measured 7,500 different gene expressions in a group of people that came to an advanced event for 4 days. And we had them doing a seated meditation, a walking meditation, a laying down meditation, a standing meditation. And at the end of 4 days, just 4 days, the common 8 genes that were upregulated, 2 genes to suppress cancer cells and tumor growth, 2 genes for neurogenesis, the growth of new neurons in response to novel experiences and learning, the gene that signals stem cells to go to damaged areas and repair them, the gene for oxidative stress was upregulated. We started seeing all these genes that are very, very healthy to cause the body to flourish. Imagine if people were doing that for 3 months. We also measured telomeres, the little shoestrings on the end of DNA that tell us our biological age. We asked people to do the work, meditation, 5 out of 7 days for 60 days. Measure their telomeres that determine their biological age. 60 days later, 74% of the people lengthened their telomeres. 40% significant change. 20% a very remarkable change. That means that they got a little bit of their life back. If it had lengthened by 10%, they got 10% of their life back.
We all talk about business all the time, but the aspect of health is the most important part, and nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about it. And most businessmen and women, you go around and you're traveling all the time, and you know it's
Eating
not
whatever,
easy to eat the best things. Then you're at 2 and 3 dinners a night. You're drinking because you're bored with a lot of people. You're drinking because you're happy because you're off. You know, you're not sleeping. You're in between climates and things of that nature, and then all of a sudden it implodes and you have nothing left.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have a schedule every day then for your health right now?
I try, and you know, I'm not perfect. I go back to the book often to look at all the things that I want to do. So, you know, I'll give you an example. Sway, you know, loves to say, hey, I get up and I bust down, 4 sets of 25 push-ups a day and gets my adrenaline running. I was doing that until I blew my shoulder out doing something else, right?
Yeah.
So now what I do, I was actually diving in Mexico and trying to embarrass my daughters with this dive, and I hurt my shoulder. I embarrassed myself. But all right. So now I have to adjust that. So what do I do now?
Sit-ups or
all right.
something
So
else,
maybe now after I will answer emails after when I do, but I'll be walking on the treadmill for 2 hours answering them. You know, later on. So I put the steps in. I'll do leg lifts. I'll do whatever the case is. But again, it's always adjusting, right? I'm not going to make an excuse. Oh, my arm blown out, so now I can't do anything, right? Because Kyle Maynard climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with no arms, no legs.
Boom.
What the hell's wrong with me? I got something wrong with my shoulder here, and I can't work out.
The single thing that helped me the most to click was not eating past 7:30. Now, depending on what time you go to bed, you're looking at that. I mean, not eating a grape, not a rice or a crispy, past 7:30. And the thing about it is, I started it at 7 o'clock, and then I was killing myself trying to get home. Oh, it's 7:26. I gotta get home. So I can eat.
I remember we'd be talking. She goes, I gotta go. I gotta get home and eat.
My cutoff time is coming. But it's singular. For a lot of people who are making bad food choices, if you just do that, that will turn.
There's a lot of magic in that.
Yeah, it's magical. If it's just like you brush your teeth, you say 7:30. I do not eat past 7:30, and the farther up you can move that, the better you get. Now, this is the key. This is what really saved me. I remember you told me this day, we're walking around, and I went, why the hell you wait 10 years to tell me that? Okay, Bob said to me, when you cut off your eating at least 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed. He goes, that little gnawing feeling you get, that little gnawing where you feel like I need to eat something, he said, that is when you are going into your fat stores. And you can either feed that feeling, give it food, or you can say, oh, this is when my body is going into my fat stores, and it's going to now eat the stored fat. That's what that feeling is. And so what happens with most of us, we try to feed that feeling, and then you wake up and you're fat. So what you really want to look for is that little, and it took 10 years, he was telling me that. We're walking along, I go, you mean that's it? That's it. That little thing that says, I want to eat something. Not I'm starving, but I wish. And most of us, what you do is you go to the cabinet, you open the cabinets, and you start grazing. You kind of go down. This is what I've done before. You say, is it Rice Krispies? No. Is it, maybe some chocolate? No. Let me try half a pork chop. No, that wasn't it either. But that's what you want. You want to feel like when you go to bed at night, you want to feel like, I wish I could eat a little something. And that's the moment when your body's going, we're gonna go into your butt now. You're gonna pull some up out of the thighs.
What is it about what you do that triggers the adaptation response, and what adaptation response does it trigger?
The power to adapt to the stressor in general. We lost this connection. It's because we wear clothes all the time and we live in a comfort zone behavior. We think we can control nature, but by being non-stimulative in our behavior, we lost the connection in the depth of our physiology. Because we are able to adapt about to anything. We are built to be able to adapt without stress into any stressful situation and get a solution. The body knows. But because we got into this comfort zone behavior hundreds of years, our genetics have changed, our physiology has changed, everything has changed. And we lost actually the full power of the mind. And I'm here to bring it back.
How do we bring it back?
I did many studies already because I don't like speculation. I go through study, the scrutiny, and let any scientist prove me wrong, because I like to go through the truth, because I think there is more than meets the eye. I did many studies, and yes, I could resist the bacteria as thought of not being able by humans. We changed medical history by showing a group of people compared to 16,134 people becoming sick after injection of a endotoxemia, and then suddenly 1,200% score within a quarter of an hour, complete control over the innate immune system and the specific, by the way, the adaptive immune system. And how did I learn to do that and to pass it on? Because it's already there in us. It only needs to awaken.
Define the adaptive immune system.
The adaptive immune system is willfully regulating and controlling your T cells and B cells, and they are located in the bone marrow. We are able to willfully influence the bone marrow and to release the T and B cells, which are very specific in the targeting on the bacteria and the virus, and apoptosis, cell death, they created. Instead of fever and uncontrolled shivering and headaches and being sick, flus, fever and all that, is the second layer. We got into the third layer, into the depth of the immune system, into the deepest. So, willfully being able to get into the bone marrow and release the T and B cells in case of inflammation is what we. And inflammation, I tell you, is the cause of any disease.
Did you just say that you can willfully control apoptosis?
Yes, anybody can.
Okay.
For that, we have the breathing exercises, and it has been shown in the comparative study. All the guys who did the breathing exercises, the endotoxin normally creates inflammation, and thus uncontrolled shivering, all over agony, headaches, and fever. And the people really get sick after being injected with the bacteria, E. coli. And that's normal. But it was not normal to be able to inoculate that reaction. How did we do that? By breathing exercises that are like controlled hypoxia, where through the brainstem, the fight and flight suddenly activates the adrenaline and resets the body. And resetting the body is going past our comfort zone conditioning, going back in our primordial state, the way nature meant it to be, and that is being able effectively to battle dis-ease. Very simple, very effective, very accessible for any human in the world. And then we go a step further. A step further is the last study wherein I was exposed to cold water, and just by a thought I was able to make the skin temperature not going down while I was exposed to cold water on my skin, ice water.
Your skin temperature didn't go down?
Yes, and normally it goes down. That is what everybody thinks, isn't it? And yes, 74 people before me, they did it and they saw all the same graphics. It goes down after exposure to cold water, and when warm water comes up, then it goes up again and goes down, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm. And then I did it, same. I didn't do anything. Why? Because I am in command of my breath. And with that, I become in command of my alchemy. And I'm able then to send and to manipulate any part of my body. They looked inside the brain, and whereas normally stress comes on the body, and that could be cold, could be heat, but could also be emotion. Depression, bipolar, anxiety, fear, PTSD, trauma, it's all stress in the brain. And it gets inflamed. And we don't know how to break the loop. Now they looked inside of my brain while this stressor was going on, and I stayed out of the stressor. When the cold came in, I just stayed over there, and warmth, cold, warmth. I stayed in control. And then they looked inside the brain, and whereas normally the activity of the stress is highlighting the prefrontal cortex, the conscious brain, because it's cold. Oh, I feel bad because I'm divorced now, and this and that, and my business is gone, and whatever, stress, real stress. And then the insula, which is normally active, very activated, when you go into deep meditation, then the insula is becoming more red. And then this is blue because deactivates the normal daily consciousness. And the insula, the deep meditation is on. And blood flow goes in the deeper parts of the brain. Suddenly it becomes all active, and it's pleasant, it's nice, euphoric. If you go into the eyes, you're really not thinking about your mortgage or your wife or this or that. You're not going to picnic. You feel, the focus will be on your feeling. How to get this feeling into adaptation and to overcome whatever is coming. And it goes directly. And I tell you, the cold has been my teacher. I just followed the teacher, the feeling, learned to let go. Intuitively, I felt, I want to do this. I did yoga, I did kung fu, did all kinds of things, and great. But the cold is really merciless but righteous. And I was ready to go in. I felt intuitively, I want to go in because it has got something. I don't know what it is. And yes, I went in and I felt it. The connection was there beyond any word. And that's what I was looking for. This tapping into deeper parts of the brain, feeling pure energy, feeling power. Innate, capacitated power we have to deal with that. I was looking for that. And since then, I went on and on and on and on. I did all these records and many more challenges. I did crazy stuff, really. Sitting all the night in your shorts outside in freezing temperatures and feel great. That is something, man. That is power. And I've been venturing and discovering more and more. And finally, I began to realize, but it's all in the mind. Oh, yes. So learning to let go in the right way, following your breath. The breath is able to prime the body and then your mind, the neurology of the mind. If I'm able to make my skin temperature not going down while being exposed to ice cold water, skin temperature, that's power. And that power is the same power we can learn to embrace and awaken, in which we are able to tackle any stressor in the world. Any stressor emotionally and physically and mentally, whatever you come up, we are built to be able to oppose that, to get through and to learn and not to be afraid, because we have the power of the mind.
It seems like there's two things to your method. Number one is the breath. So what I want to know is when you're breathing in the way that you're breathing, which there's a lot of great video on there that we'll link to in the show notes. So when you're breathing like that, why do you think that allows you to begin to reconnect to something that everyone will call the autonomic system, meaning that you don't have conscious control over it? How does that link it?
Yes, very simple. These breathing techniques I've learned to do in extreme cold. So they are extremely effective. Very soon I was able to stay and prolong my time in ice water, feeling great.
But is the breath just about oxygenating the tissues?
Oxygenating not only to go past, in this case, to go past the lymphatic knots, which normally inhibits the oxygen to go deeper. Now we found a way to go past these knots into the lymphatic system. And with that, you come into the depth of your body and making you able to alkalize your blood within a couple of minutes. And with that, when the blood is the right pH degree, then suddenly the neurology of the mind, which is like electricity, is able to run through on a subtle basis. Actually, we are mammals. We are about, we are built after millions of years as mammals. Physiology is inside, the wiring and everything is inside, and 3 times the world's length is vascular systems inside of us. Killer number 1 in our society is cardiovascular related. It's big time. And that is because we wear clothes. We are never being stimulated through cold, warm, and pressure. It's no longer there. So there is a mediocre state of our vascular conditioning. And for that, we take cold showers.
There's some shock to the system that does something to the vascular.
Hormesis. We do it consciously, and with that, we connect even with the brain, with the vascular system all over. And it's amazing how simple it can be, how simple we can tackle this serial killer, the cardiovascular related diseases. We can tackle it. A cold shower a day keeps the doctor away.
I want to go back to when you're 17.
Yes.
The ice water starts calling to you. And also, part of what makes this fascinating is you have an identical twin.
Yes.
So, one, it's fascinating that you guys took very divergent paths. So, if I understand right, you've begun to teach him your method.
Yes.
But when you're there at the water and it's calling to you, what is that? Like at 17, I know you'd been searching for like, I need this, whatever this is, I need it all to make sense. I need to connect to a God or something to fill me up, to let me connect to something bigger than myself. So you have that calling.
I don't know what, but it is there and it is inside of me and it's more than meets the eye and all that. And it made me at age of 12, study psychology and going into Hinduism, Buddhism, and all kinds of esoteric disciplines. And when I was 17, I just had this feeling. And my twin brother, who is identical, is not able to do, only after my training to come up with the results. Because it's not genetical, it is trained. And so this one is able to be trained by anybody.
God, the fact that you're an identical twin, it's like you're the perfect subject. I mean, it's literally crazy. You have an identical twin to be like the perfect control subject.
Yes, absolutely. It's like 100% genetical score match, and he is not able to do it, and I am able to do it. So they did certain kinds of experiments, and they saw this in scientific environment. That I was able to do things and he could not. And then later when I trained him, he was able to do about the same.
Jesus, that's extraordinary.
We all are able to battle inflammation, to have a control top down in our body much more than we thought possible. At least to be able to guarantee happiness, strength, and health, which is all related to hormones and the control over the immune system and nervous system.
Get super fit. When you are in world-class physical condition, you just need less sleep. Your metabolic rate is higher, you have a lot more energy, a lot more stamina, a lot more passion. Get super fit and you're just going to need less sleep. Number 2, every single week get a massage. Getting a massage is not a waste of time, it's not a cost, it's an investment. Why? Because it'll increase your circulation, it'll help you get by on a lot less sleep. It's something that every peak performer should do every 7 days just to allow yourself to play at your absolute best. Number 3, your diet. Eat less food, you'll have more energy. Don't eat after 8 o'clock. And eat every 4 hours, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, but the real key is eat less food, manage your diet, you will need less sleep.
The most common question I've been asked by the media my entire life that always makes me laugh is, well, don't you have bad days? Don't you have days when you're like frustrated and excited and pissed off and you watch TV and you eat Cheetos and watch pornography? And I said, well, I do some of those things, right? You know? And of course I do, but it's like an athlete. I built muscle over the years so that it's not that I don't have feelings, that I don't get hurt, I don't feel sad, I don't feel tired, I feel all those things, but they're not the dominant force of my life. It's a muscle. The mind is a muscle. Emotion is a muscle. I mean, I think the most powerful muscles are the invisible force muscles. It's your spiritual, emotional muscles. Like courage unused doesn't grow, it shrinks. So I put my ass on the line regularly so that it grows, and when it keeps growing, then pretty soon the stuff that used to make me crazy, it doesn't touch me. It's not that I'm so great, just I'm well trained. I've trained this mind. I get up every morning in my life, you talk about rebounder, more crazy shit I do is every morning in my life, if I'm near any of my homes, and some places I have cryotherapy, but my homes I have these cold plunges, and they're 56 degrees, and the first thing I do is jump in that cold plunge. So there's not a morning where I want to jump in that. I can't remember mornings like, oh, I can't wait to jump in that thing. But I don't negotiate with myself. I do it for 2 reasons. One, there's a physical health component. It moves your lymph system, the blood flushes through your whole body. But the main reason I do it, even more than that, is when I go up there, I don't, you know how people negotiate, well, maybe we'll do it tomorrow, I'm gonna do this, or oh, let me wait 2 more minutes till I'm ready. There's none of that shit with me. For decades, I go, I say, we do. I'm not here to discuss this shit with my mind. There's mind, and then there's soul and spirit. And soul and spirit, my soul knows. And when I say jump, you jump. I'm not here to have a discussion with you.
30 and a half, I'm on this random flight, I'm just laying there, not feeling tired, not feeling lethargic, no cliche thing, no heartburn that I think I'm getting a heart attack, nothing. I'm just laying there and I'm saying, you know, if I treated my health the way I treated businesses, I'd win. And so I just started. Actually, I remember what happened because I was like, doesn't feel right. I was thinking about my 40th birthday. And I was thinking, you know, at 30, I changed my life. I went from the executor to, I need to go for it. If I don't do from 30 to 40, it's not going to happen. So let me go for it in that decade. And I was like, what am I going to do at 40? Weirdly, I don't feel the same pressure I did at 30. I think I'm on a better career path. Like, I don't feel the angst to it didn't feel right to triple down on work. And so I said, health is nowhere close to where it should be. I'm the way I make fun of people in business, you're not doing anything right that's going to help you long term. I'm not doing anything right with health. When I turn 40, I'm going to get serious. So then a week later, I'm on a flight again. Flights made me think, and I'm like, the f am I waiting to 40 for? I could do a lot of bad in this next 18 months. 39 in November. This is around May, and in November I'm going to go for it. And literally the next morning, I'm like, why?
Among the first 5 ingredients, you shouldn't find sugar.
Okay.
Now, sugar is supposed to be eaten, of course, but it should come together with either fat or some element like fiber, as you would find in fruit, so you can absorb it a bit more slowly. Okay. So number one is sugar.
So if sugar is one of the first 5 elements in whatever it is you're buying, it's a no-no.
It's a no-no. You want to avoid it.
Okay.
Now, even worse than sugar.
Even worse than sugar.
Is this. Look how appetizing that is.
And that is?
This is high fructose corn syrup.
Oh, that's what it is.
Now, it's very sweet.
Yeah.
But it's not very good for you.
It's not good for you.
Because it blocks the ability of a chemical called leptin, which is the way your fat tells your brain it's
I'm
there.
Full.
Exactly.
I'm full. Okay.
So you don't want to have
this is the thing that's blocking it, and so you just keep eating and eating until you're literally stuffed.
Right. You know, it's not so much even the 150 calories in the soda pop. It's the fact that at that same meal, you will normally consume an extra 100 calories of food than you would have.
Because of this?
Because of this.
Okay. High fructose corn syrup. Okay, got that.
These are both carbohydrates.
Yes.
The third carbohydrate is this.
Yes.
This is flour, but it's enriched white flour.
Enriched white flour.
Now, why would they enrich flour? The reason they enrich it is because they already stripped out anything that was worth a darn in it, and they add a little bit back so it doesn't look so bad.
Yes.
It should be whole grain.
Okay.
The way it has its kernels, it has its B vitamins, all the things you want it to be in there.
Whole grain's hip, it's in.
It's in.
Okay.
Yeah. So these 3 are carbohydrates.
Yes.
Now let's move on down to the fun stuff.
Okay.
Now, big confusion about fats.
Yeah, big.
This is animal fat.
Yes.
Animal fat is saturated.
Saturated fat is from 4-legged animals.
Exactly.
Good.
If it's coming from a four-legged animal, it's saturated. So that means that these things can be solid at room temperature.
Okay. Lard. Think lard.
Bingo.
Saturated, think lard.
Now, good oils.
Good oils.
Are liquids at room temperature.
I'm repeating, so I'm putting it in my brain, you know? Good. Okay.
Now, the thing about good oils is that they're not very stable. If you put a good oil into a cracker and try to store it on a shelf, it goes bad. Because good oils aren't very stable. So in order to deal with that problem, we took the good, healthy vegetable oils and we hydrogenated them. We added hydrogens to them.
Okay, tell me that again.
We took good, healthy oils, and in order to make them solid and make them so they wouldn't go bad in a year on a shelf somewhere, we added hydrogens to them.
Hydrogens.
Right. Hydrogen makes those flimsy things become rigid.
And that's what'll make it stay on the shelf for a year.
Well, it makes it solid at room temperature and solid on a shelf for a year.
Okay.
And that's this.
Ah.
Now, this should be liquid. It's obviously not. By the way, this is very good for your skin, and you can actually use this kind of material for furniture polish, lots of fun things.
Yeah.
But don't put it in you.
I can use it on my feet. Some dry feet. Good. I'm thinking this is a great moisturizer for the bottom of my heels. This is nice, yeah. Okay. And this is what? What is this, lard?
No, this is actually a hydrogenated oil.
Okay.
It's a material that is created so that you can keep that stored material on the shelf for a long time. Now, here's the big deal. When you have healthy oils and you cook with them, you oxidize them, you damage them. So the key thing to know about the healthy oils.
And what are the healthy oils?
Olive oil, sesame seed oil.
All the ones that are liquid when they're
flaxseed oil.
When they're cold.
Right. Some are better than others, but generally the ones I just listed, canola oil, flaxseed oil, olive oil, these are all very healthy oils. But because they're healthy, they're very delicate.
Yes.
So you have to store them in a refrigerator, or at least cover them so they stay dark. Otherwise, they will oxidize, they will go bad on you.
Oh, really?
So this stuff is great because it doesn't go bad, but it's very bad for you.
Okay.
So the healthy oils, if you learn how to use them, take you a long way.
Put some on my heels. And this is in a lot of things. This is the hydrogenated oil, correct?
Yes, this is hydrogenated to make it solid.
Okay.
But the word that you will see in the package is a trans fat, because these hydrogens bring these molecules together, and we call them trans fats.
So I don't want the thing to say hydrogenated, and I don't want it to say trans fat, and I don't want it to say saturated.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head.
I was teaching in a medical school. Yeah. And I was teaching the concept about genes, and everyone, of course, has heard about genes, and they believe that genes control their lives, So running in my family is diabetes, Alzheimer's, cancer, whatever it is, and they say, oh my goodness, I'm a recipient of such genes, and this is going to be my life. And this is a belief of victimization of heredity. It's running in my heredity, and I'm going to get these genes, and I can't control it. There's a new biology that switches this whole thing around because it reveals that genes don't control our lives. It's our perceptions and our response to the environment. It's the environment that influences the genes. Well, the relevance about that is since we can change our perceptions and we can change our environment, then we're not victims, we're actually masters. But we have to know that. We have to really come from an understanding that we are creating our lives, because if your belief is you're a victim, its belief is translated into biology. You become a victim if that's what you believe.
Yes, sir. So you kind of prove scientifically and biologically that the proof of that we in fact are in control of our genes, that our genes aren't controlling our lives. Can you give us a brief sort of bird's eye view of how you prove that, Bruce?
Yeah, it's a wonderful, simple experiment. About 47 years ago, I was cloning stem cells. Now, about 47 years ago, there's only a handful of us in the whole world even knew what a stem cell is. A stem cell is an embryonic cell in your body. And the reason why we have all these embryonic cells is because cells have a life and they die. And if we can't replace the cells, then it won't be very long before all our cells die and then we're gone. So a stem cell is a multi-potential embryonic cell. Here's the work, simple. I get one stem cell, put it in a dish by itself, and it divides every 10 hours. So first 1, and then 2, 4, 8, 16, and the cells keep going. After a week, I've got 50,000 cells in the Petri dish. But here's the most important point. They all came from one parent. So there are 50,000 genetically identical cells. Okay, now here's the experiment.
Yeah.
I take that community and I break them up into 3 different petri dishes, and I change the environment a little bit in each dish. Now, cells are like fish. They live in a fluid, so I create like an aquarium with all the things they need to live in it. That's called the environment. And I change the composition of the environment a little bit in each dish, okay? What happens is in dish 1, I get muscle cells. In dish 2, I end up with a different environment, get bone cells. In dish 3, yet a different environment, I end up with fat cells. Well, the whole point was this. What controls the fate of the cells? And you say, well, genetics. I go, no. They're all genetically the same.
Yes.
So the fate of the cell wasn't determined by the genetics, it was determined by the environment. Okay? And so the information in the environment is really what's involved with selecting our genes. So people say, well, okay, that's really nice. You got cells in a plastic dish. What the heck does it have to do with me? And I go, well, here's the fun part. You look in the mirror, Ty, you see this handsome guy looking back, you say, that's Ty, that's me, and I'm a single human being, a single organism. I go, a slight misperception for this reason. You are not a single entity. You are made out of 50 trillion cells. The cells are the living entity. You, by actual biological definition, you're a community. So you're a community of 50 trillion cells. And so the fun part is you're a skin-covered petri dish with 50 trillion cells inside. And you have an environment, a culture medium, and it's called blood. And the chemical composition of the blood determines the fate of the cells. That's what happened in my plastic dish. So to a cell, does it make a difference if it's in the plastic dish or the skin dish? No, it's still going to read the environment. So I say, then the blood is the culture medium, and the composition of the blood controls the genetics. And then I go, now here's the cool part. I say, but as I showed in the petri dish, if I change the composition of the culture medium, I change the fate of the cells. So I say, well, who or what controls the chemical composition of my blood? So we go up to the next level. I say the brain is the chemist. The brain is what releases the chemistry in the blood. And then you go one more step. You say, but what chemicals should the brain release into the blood? And I go, next level up, the mind. What do you perceive? What do you see? What are you looking for? So I say, for a person, I say, here we are. I stand here. I open up my eyes and I see someone I love. Well, my mind perceives love and translates that through the brain into chemistry such as dopamine, the pleasure chemical, oxytocin, the bonding chemical, vasopressin, attractiveness, growth hormone, which enhances the growth of the cells. So when a person sees love, experiences love, the brain releases a cocktail of these wonderful chemicals. And think about it, when people are in love, they glow, they're healthy, they have so much energy. I say, where'd they get that from? The culture medium. Okay? But I say, look, same person opens their eyes, instead of seeing someone they love, they see something that scares them. I say, do you release these same chemicals in love? And I go, no. When I perceive the world as threatening, or I'm living in fear, I release stress hormones, and I release hormones that control my immune system, inflammatory agents, these things that get me ready for fight or flight. And I go, well, here's the interesting part. As I said, the fate of the cells is based on the chemistry. If I take the chemicals released by the brain in love and put it into a plastic dish with cells, the cells grow beautifully. And I say, okay, wait, what about the chemicals that come out of a brain of someone in fear? I take those chemicals, put that in the culture dish, the cells stop growing. Wow. And they get into protection. Protections close yourself down. So the idea is this: when you're in growth, you're open to the world and you say, come on, bring it on. Yeah. But when fear or something comes in there, you close it down. And the chemistry of the fear is what shuts down the cells. Fear kills, basically what it's all about. So basically it says this: we always talk about mind, body, and those strict fundamental scientists go, oh, mind, body, what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And I go, it's not a mystery. It's simple. The mind is an interpretation of the world. It causes the brain to release chemistry that matches the interpretation to coordinate 50 trillion cells to live in that world. It's your emotions, it's your perceptions, it's your beliefs. These are the sources of the chemicals that end up controlling the genes. This is a new science. It's called epigenetics, because epigenetics is a revolution of all of our understanding of science for a very simple reason. When I was a professor in a medical school, we were teaching the concept of genetics. And genetics, most everybody knows, yes, we have genes and the genes control our traits, and that we get the genes from our parents, and so therefore the traits that are running in our family are passed down to us, and sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing. You know, you got diseases running in your family, the last thing you want to know, oh geez, everybody in my family got cancer. It's like, am I going to be next? genetics. Well, I got the genes.
Yeah.
So that's our belief system that we've been teaching, that genes control us. That makes us victims, as I said, because we didn't pick the genes as far as we know. We can't change the genes, so whatever they are, they make us.
Yeah.
And so people walk around going, oh, my life is, not so good, I got these genes. Epi means above. So when I say epigenetic control, I'm literally saying control above the genes. It's the environment that controls it. Well, that includes not just the real environment, but our perception of the environment, because you could live in the healthiest of environments, but if you perceive it to be a threatening world, then your cells receive the perception. They don't read the direct world. Genetic control, you're a victim because the genes control you. Epigenetics is a revolution because it says, look, if the environment or my perception controls genes, I'm the one that can change my perception. I'm the one that can change my environment. So all of a sudden, I'm not locked in. I am free to change the way I live in the world, which in turn comes back and changes the genetic readout. And this is really what's so profoundly important. For example, a lot of people talk about the placebo effect.
Yes.
And they say, well, what's the placebo effect? Well, this pill is going to cure you. It's the greatest new science in the world. And I believe that, and I take the pill and I get better, and then they tell me it was just a sugar pill. So then the truth is, well, what healed me? Well, it wasn't the sugar pill. It was the belief in the pill. So everyone says, oh yeah, placebo effect. That's how you have this wonderful thought and you get better. And I say, yeah, but here's the problem. We've only talked about the placebo effect. There's another thing called the nocebo effect. The nocebo effect is, what is the consequence of a negative thought? And it turns out it's equally powerful in controlling your biology and your genetics as is a placebo, positive thought.
Yeah.
So we talk about, oh yeah, placebo, good thoughts create good health and good life. And then I say, yeah, and a bad thought, a negative thought, a nocebo effect can actually kill you. It can cause a disease. If you believe you're going to get this cancer because everyone says you're going to get this cancer, and then your perception is sending cancer thoughts into your body, the chemistry that comes from the thoughts to the brain to the body is a chemistry that doesn't support health, but it'll actually lead to your own death. So all of a sudden, it's the power of your perceptions, positive or negative, that override your genetics. Well, this is most amazing because all of a sudden you look around and you say, but look at all those wonderful happy people. And look, they're not only just happy, they're also healthy.
Yes.
And the fact is, yes, they're sending in a chemistry that the cells will really thrive with.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the Best Life 30 questions of the day. It's not enough to just watch a video like this. You have to do something and take action in your life. So pull out your worksheets and answer these questions. And if you don't have the worksheets yet, you can get them for free by signing up for the series in the description below. Here we go. Question number 1. What are the lifestyle changes that you need to make to improve your health? Number 2. When is your eating cutoff time going to be? And number 3. What do you want to train your mind to do better? And if you're doing the Best Life 30 challenge with me, give me a hashtag BestLife30 down in the comments as well so I can celebrate you. Growing up, as you get into your 30s, the weight starts adding up, especially for entrepreneurs living a busy lifestyle. And I quickly found myself to being almost 200 pounds. And so I decided I got to get my act together. I got to lose some weight. Some of you guys have been commenting and noticing. Thank you for the love. And so in today's video, I'm going to share with you the 7 ways that I use to lose 19.5 pounds in 1 month. So way number 1 is I would fast until noon. And fasting for me would be liquids only. And really that's just water, lots of water here, and coffee. Now this probably wasn't the healthiest part. I would have 2 of these that would last me from whenever I woke up, usually around 7-ish, until 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And this is an extra large, 2 milk, 1 sugar from Tim Hortons. So having 2 extra large coffees probably wasn't the healthiest choice in the morning, but I found that 1, the caffeine really helped curb the appetite. And I found if I delayed my eating until the afternoon, then I could consume the calories that I needed in the afternoon and not get started too early. I found when I started eating too early, then I just kept eating all day long, and I found it difficult to kind of stay on the diet.